If the ending part of this episode does not get you hyped for the last episode of the season, I don't know what will. How is it going, guys? We are on episode 24 of Attack on Titan. One episode left to review until we're done with Attack on Titan Season 1. I can't believe I've been on this journey. It's been so much fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed my reviews, and I kind of feel like I've gotten better, hopefully, as my reviews have gone on. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content so far, because Season 2 is going to be here really soon, and I am really excited just to delve into the new content because I am unaware of the events of the manga. I have not read the manga, so anything within season 2 is going to be new to me, so I'm going to really look forward to actually learning new information and just re-entering this world once again with like an overall new story that we're going to be continuing on with. So I am really looking forward to that, but I just want to delve into the content of this episode in particular. We got a lot of good information within this little episode right here because we got a flashback sequence, we got the Survey Corps going against Annie in her Titan form, and then at the very end of this episode, we have Eren transforming into his Titan form finally, because this whole episode has been leading up to it, where we're going to have Eren versus Annie, round number dos, and I am really looking forward to reviewing the last episode. But starting off at the very beginning of this episode, I loved the recap part because it had some new animation with it, because we actually got to see Annie transforming, and it showed how it manifests the Titan form, and we get to see like the skeleton form out of thin air. We get to see the muscles and the skin kind of like regrow across the body. Very cool sequence, seeing Annie going into the nape of the neck. That's just a cool animation sequence. Just getting to see it manifest out of thin air is just really cool. But the main parts that I want to talk about within this episode are the flashback sequence, you know, the Survey Corps going up against Annie in her Titan form, and then, you know, the struggle for Eren to transform into his Titan form throughout this entire episode. So just starting off with the flashback sequences, this basically starts off with kind of a somber note when you actually look at it in context, because we're just seeing Levi and Eren sitting at the table. Levi's drinking his tea, but if you actually look, all the chairs around them are empty, and you know that everyone from Levi's squad that died 2 to 3 episodes ago by the hands of the female Titan would have been sitting there, and it's very like somber and sad when you think about it, because it's really only Eren and Levi left of Levi's squad. It's very upsetting to see, and you can tell that Levi is affected by it, but he just doesn't show his emotions all that much. And he's also still injured as well. His foot and leg is still bothering him, so I'm really hoping that he recovers really soon, because they need him back in action, because that is their ace in the hole. Levi is like the main fighter for the Survey Corps, and they need all the help they can get. Mikasa can only do so much, and they need Levi out there. But then we actually have Erwin and the rest of like the Survey Corps, like Jean, Mikasa, Armin, show up, and they kind of like let Levi and Eren know it's like, we have a plan to capture the female Titan. We know who it is. We have a suspect, and they end up telling Eren, it's like, we believe it to be Annie. And at this point, Eren doesn't really want to believe the fact that Annie could possibly even be the female Titan. But even Mikasa during the scene is like, well, it doesn't really like phase me all that much, because if you look at the female Titan, it looks a lot like Annie. And then Eren's like, well, how could you say that? And then Mikasa's like, Eren, is there anything about the female Titan? You fought her. Is there anything about her fighting style that you remember about her that could resemble Annie in any way? And this is actually where we kind of get an answer all the way back from episode 21, to where Eren had that shocked look on his face when he was in his Titan form fighting Annie, because he had this shocked face, and then his head basically got like kicked or whatever off of his shoulders, and it turns out it was a kick that actually knocked his head way into the distance. But it turns out we saw the Titan form having the same stance as Annie, and so that kind of like right there for Eren was like, holy shit, am I fighting Annie right now? So he's still in denial though throughout this entire episode, but I really like this flashback sequence because it shows them coming up with a plan that we saw in the previous episode of how they were trying to capture Annie. As we know, it doesn't plan out for the way that they actually wanted it to, but you know, they have plan B, plan C, plan D, all the way back up, so in case plan A fails, and we get to see that within this episode. Because we have the Survey Corps going up against the female Titan within this episode. We have Mikasa and Armin going in on this female Titan. Mikasa does a lot of work, and I love how she's just going back and forth, basically screaming to the female Titan, you are not taking Eren. Absolutely love that. But then we also have, you know, Erwin and Levi, with Jean being escorted still by the military police. Jean ends up bursting out, basically taking off the wig, saying, I am not Eren, and don't even compare that to me, to that asshole. I absolutely love how he's just so pissed at the fact that they're comparing him to Eren. He gets his 3D maneuver gear, and he starts heading out, and I love this part too, and it makes me love Jean's character even more, because looking back to the beginning parts of Attack on Titan, he was a smug ass character and he just wanted to go right into the military police, didn't even want to fight Titans, didn't want anything to do with them. Look at his character growth throughout this entire series, and you see him looking at the military police off in the distance when they're standing on top of these buildings, doing nothing. They're kind of just bystanders watching the situation unfold, and he's looking at them just basically saying like, shit, I would have been in that situation. I would have been among the ranks, unable to do anything, but here I am, a part of the Survey Corps, and I'm actually being like running towards the smoke, running to danger, and I'm so proud of his character because when you first see him, he's a complete asshole, honestly, but when you finally get to see his growth and him like making like relationships with Marco and Eren and Armin, and definitely within this female Titan arc, you get to see the relationship or the camaraderie between Armin and Jean grow, and I just love how his character has grown so much. It just makes me happy to see his character where it is right now. But eventually he ends up, joining Armin and Mikasa and the rest of the Survey Corps fighting off the female Titan. And we get Hanji within this episode. We get my girl Hanji, and I love how they pan over to her within this episode as well, because she's just off in some secluded, unknown location on a building, just smiling, and maniacal laughter is coming from her. And even like her subordinates are looking at her, it's like, Hanji, are you okay? You're laughing maniacally right now. But they have the same trap that they had within the forest set up for the female Titan. So we have Mikasa, Armin, and Jean leading the female Titan into this trap. They do the same thing that they did in the forest. They try to capture her, but with less equipment. It kind of works out for them at first, but then she ends up breaking out of it and just continues on her rampage in a way, fighting off Mikasa, Jean, and Armin. And then the last part that I want to talk about for this overall episode is the whole Eren bit. Now, Eren is basically having trouble transforming into his Titan form throughout the entirety of this episode. It's not until the last, minute of this episode that he finally comes to his resolve and actually is willing and has the objective and goal that he needs to transform into the Titan form. But throughout this entire episode, he's having problems, and I'm watching this, I'm like, Eren, are you having some performance issues in the field? Because I believe they might have a pill for that for your Titan form. Just like making jokes about it, but like when you're watching him, it's very sad to watch because he's constantly just biting his hand. He's got blood in his mouth and he's unable to do anything throughout this entire episode. Debris ends up falling on him. He's a complete wreck, and then we just have Jean and Armin trying to talk some sense to him, and I love how Jean is basically yelling at him saying like, we put our trust in you. You were the only one with the power that could help us throughout this entire situation, and right now you were basically letting us down. And I love how Armin also, after Jean, goes off to fight the female Titan, he goes to talk to Eren and basically gets that will within him, that fire sparked once again, and he ends up remembering all the people that he lost fighting the Titans. He remembers the entire Levi squad, he remembers Marco, and he also remembers his mother. And this is what drives him, and this is what drives him now to actually fight Annie, because Eren throughout this entire episode was unable to handle the truth with his own eyes that Annie was in fact the female Titan. But now with his resolve and remembering all the people that he lost along the way because of these Titans, it's what's sparking his desire now to annihilate all the Titans, but also annihilate Annie and to kill Annie. And then we get this epic moment where he finally transforms. You see him running through the street and he just decks Annie right across the face, and she just lands and just demolishes this building, and we just are left off with this cliffhanger with round 2 about to start of Eren against Annie. And damn, it gets you hyped for the last episode of this season. It's a really, really good way to leave us off wanting more, because you're watching that, you're like, give me the last episode right now. So overall, this episode, very good. It definitely slowed down a bit with the whole Eren bit because it just dragged on throughout the entire episode. But I understand why they did it, because they still had one more episode for the season and they wanted to save all the action heavy stuff with Eren and Annie for that last episode. So I just want to hear your thoughts on this overall episode. What do you think of the flashback sequence and just Eren's how he's not able to come to terms with the fact that Annie is in fact the female Titan, and how that kind of affects him throughout this entire episode? But also, do you love the sequences of everyone within the Survey Corps, with Mikasa, with Armin, with Jean, fighting against the female Titan, and also with Hanji? What are your thoughts on Hanji? What are your thoughts on my favorite character possibly within this entire show? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you guys feel like subscribing, definitely feel free to do so. I am talking about Attack on Titan, and I did my whole season so far, and I'm really looking forward to season 2 starting up really, really soon. So if you guys want to get in on the conversation and just talk about this series overall, feel free to subscribe. I am really looking forward to the start of season 2, but we only got one more episode to review after this, episode 25, and that will be out tomorrow, and then the day after that, we're having the premiere of season 2. So I am really hyped for that. So until my episode 25 review, my last episode review of season 1 of Attack on Titan, I'll talk with you guys then. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.